For today's project, we are going to work on drawing half of our self-portrait and also shading our self-portrait as well. To do this project, we will be using a variety of supplies. I have some scissors, some tape, a ruler, pencil of course, eraser, and then I'm also going to be using some blending sticks. These are also called tortillons, and you can just find them at any craft store, art supply store. I also may be using some different kinds of pencils. I have like a 6B, a 4H, a B, so those can give you different levels of darkness, different values. And then I have just a nice piece of drawing paper, and I have a printout of my self-portrait. All right, I'm going to go ahead and start by trying to find a good spot to cut my face in half. I usually look at the nose and the mouth and try to kind of make a line in between those two. It may not be the actual center of your paper, but try to at least find the center of your face. And then I'm going to go ahead and cut my face in half with my scissors. Next, I'm going to flip my portrait upside down because we will be working upside down for most of this project. And I'm going to decide which one I'm going to paint. So I'm right-handed. I want my right side when upside down to be on the paper, and I will be drawing the left side. So I'm going to try to center my picture on my drawing paper, and then I'm going to tape down my right side. So if you're left-handed, you'll want to make sure to do the opposite. Make sure you stick down the left side so that you'll be drawing the right, and that way you're not going to be putting your arm through your picture the whole time. I just find it easier to work like that. All right, now I am going to start creating an outline of where my face will be. So to do that, I'm actually going to use my other sheet. I'm going to make sure to line it up just right with how it should be. I'm going to hold my pencil over a little section and then just kind of add a little mark to draw that section in. So if I want like the jawline, I'm going to add a little mark by the jawline, line it up. If I want the outside of my face, I'm going to add a little mark on the outside of my face. And notice I'm actually drawing very, very lightly. So unfortunately on a video, it's really hard to see, but it's important to not press too hard on this so that you don't have super dark lines in your portrait. A good portrait actually would have no visible lines showing. It would all just be a change in value, so lights versus darks. So I'm really trying hard not to have super, super dark lines unless it's a very dark area of my portrait. So like the corner of my mouth, I can push a little bit harder because that value is very dark. So I'm just going to go through my face and try to make some lines where the important elements of my face are. So where my mouth is, my nose, my eyes, even some of the details in my hair. I want to make sure that all of those elements have some guidelines here. You don't need to do every single line on your face, but for sure, trying to get those guidelines as to where these things actually are can really be beneficial later when we're adding the shading. Now the pencil I'm using right now is just a regular number 2 pencil. You could also use like an H pencil, 2H, 4H, because those would give you, the harder lead gives you the lighter colored lines. So if you have a set of pencils, that's what I would recommend. All right, so I have been working on this for a while now. I have a lot of the main lines in. You can see faintly my eye is there, nose, mouth. I'm now adding some detail to my hair to make sure that I get that information, where my darks and lights are on my hair, the outline of my hair. So it's kind of tricky because it's kind of a little bit wild and crazy on the side of my head, but I am just going to really focus at least on those darks right next to the face because those are important in framing my face. The rest of the stuff is not as important, but at least trying to put some of those darks in will help with my overall picture. All right, I think I'm liking this. I don't see too many more things. Maybe just here and there, my smile lines I can throw in. And the nice part about this too is if there's something that you forget, you can always just come back and add it in later, or you can check later to make sure that you have things in the right spot. So I think I'm pretty close here to the shading process. So I'm going to go ahead and start my shading by looking at my skin and trying to match the shade of my photo that I am working with. So I start kind of really close to my center line, and I'm just trying to color lightly with my pencil in a couple different directions as to avoid too many like coloring or line work. And then I'm trying to just darken areas that are a little bit darker and keep light areas that are a little bit lighter. And my blending stick will actually darken areas even a little bit more anyway. So I'm trying to work a little bit light. So now I'm going to take my blending stick, and I usually like to try to kind of work in different directions. Sometimes I do like circular motions to try to avoid the lines. And I'm really trying to match my value of the other side of my face. So anywhere that's a little bit light, I want to make lighter. You can erase. If there's an area that's a little bit darker, I can go in with more pencil or push harder with my blending stick. I do try to avoid using the point of my blending stick and focus more on using the side of it so that those points stay nice and sharp. And you can always go back in with pencil to get some of those values darker or more defined as well. So that corner of my mouth is one of the darkest areas in my portrait, so I really want to push hard with my pencil and get that area nice and dark. This is a really good exercise for studying your values, for practicing those lights and darks, and really trying to distinguish the different parts of the face just by a change in the values. So my teeth are a lighter value than my lips, so instead of just drawing a line around my teeth, I'm just going to have those values change from light to dark. The area under my nose is pretty shadowed or shaded, so I can darken that some with my pencil. And then go back in with my blending stick and blend it in. So I'm just going to be working around my face, looking at each section, trying to decide what value is this section of my face. And when I come to two things that touch each other, like the side of my face and my hair, I say, okay, which value is lighter? Right now, the side of my face would be lighter, so I could darken the hair. When going into my eyes, I see a lot of really dark values, so I can really push hard with my pencil and really pay attention to the areas that are super dark. Notice too that even the whites of the eyes are like a darker value than the teeth, for instance. They're almost the same shade as my skin. So not leaving those bright white is also important to try to really make sure that those get nice and dark to match the skin around it even. I I've got a lot more dark in there. I didn't kind of put enough information, like I forgot to do the eyelid, so I can go ahead and add that eyelid back in. So you can see if there are elements that you forget, or if you need a little bit of help figuring out where things go, you can always pick up that other half and use that to help you out with your reference. Now you may be wondering, why are we doing this whole thing upside down? Well, I have a good reason. Usually when you work upside down, you focus more on shapes and lines and values, where if we were working on this right side up, you'd be thinking, does it look like me? Does my nose look like my nose? Does my mouth look like my mouth? And you focus more on the fact that it's an eye or a nose and a mouth, where here we are focusing more on what angle is that line, or what shape does that part make, or what value is that value. And I mean, we see that it's eyes, nose, and mouth, but it's easier for your brain to forget those things if you're looking at it from a different angle. So a lot of times when I work on portraits or even grid drawing, I like to force myself and my students to work upside down. It's just so much better for your brain when you are working to not focus on what it is you're drawing, but more focus on the elements that make up your drawing. So I have done a lot of the face and the hair, and now I wanted to go in and give a little bit of detail to the background. In my photo here, the background is very, very light because I'm outdoors. There's the sky, and you can see there's a couple trees behind me, so I will probably indicate those a little bit with my pencil. I didn't even draw them before, so I can kind of at least give an idea of where those are. I do want to try to just indicate those to match the value of the ones on the other side of my head. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of throw those details in. If you have a solid background, you know, you can just kind of try to match whatever value that is too. So I'm just going to try to kind of figure that out. I realize my hair goes off to the side a little bit more, so I'm going to go ahead and make sure that that line's in there for my hair. And yeah, just kind of add these blurry elements to the background. I'm not spending a ton of time on them. I don't want them to be super precise, but just kind of shapes in the background so that it kind of matches with the other side. Now notice, even with the background, I'm still working upside down. Not super important. And I'm going to go ahead and add a couple little dark areas back in my hair. I probably could have even pushed these darks a little bit darker, but my main focus is the face, so I really wanted that to be the main interest. And now comes a reveal. So this is my first time flipping my picture over. Now I can look at it right side up and say, okay, does this look like me? What could I do to make it look more like me? So there are certain things that stand out right away to me that I just want to make sure to tweak now that I am looking at it right side up. I've got most of the elements in there, but I do want to make sure to work so that it does look more like me, as it is a self-portrait. I'm going through and finding things to darken. The area around my eyes is quite a bit darker. By my nose is quite a bit darker. So I'm just defining some of the things a little bit more now that I'm looking at it from a totally new perspective. It's amazing the impact that has. It's kind of fun to see the difference. Now I'm going to go ahead and change pencils. I have a pencil here that is a 6B, and if it has a B on it and a high number, that means that the lead is super soft and will actually give you quite dark coloring or values. So I'm going to push these darks between my face and my hair just by pushing nice and hard with this number 6B pencil. And that will kind of get those darks a little bit darker here to really try to make sure to like frame my face. So that was very important to me, to get those nice, rich, dark values going on. Just looking for anything in my portrait here that should be really dark. And then I can go ahead and blend some of those darks a little bit more to make sure that they kind of smooth into the transitions into the lights. All right. I am liking how this is looking. I think it is just about as far as I want to take it. And now I am going to finish up. So what I'm going to do is I want to attach this to this green background. So I'm going to line up my face again and just cut right around the edge of my paper. So I will be cutting off my tape. I'll basically be trimming this down so that it is back to the size of just the image without the outline. And I'm going to try to hold my paper steady and go all the way around my original picture. And I'm going to go ahead and cut all of this extra paper off so that I'm just working with my part of the portrait here. And then I'm going to go ahead and glue the side of my face that I didn't draw down to my paper. So I'm going to take that, throw some glue on the back. My glue is being a little ornery. I'm going to go ahead and put some glue there. And then I am going to glue that down, try to really be careful to match up my sides and add that to my picture. Get it all nice and settled there. And then I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing with my entire picture and glue that to my background. And there you have it, the half-drawn self-portrait. I hope you guys enjoyed doing this with me. It's a different process, I know. Thank you so much for joining me. Please give it a like and subscribe down below, and we hope to see you again soon. Thanks, guys.